Okay, so I've got some white glue, and just going to try and get some onto the base. That, and then a brush that you don't care about. You need some cheap brushes are always useful to have. So I'm just trying to get that base covered, and before I dip it into the sand, I think some a few larger bits and pieces here and there. You can use little bits of cork that are cut up. Okay, and then into the sand and see what comes out. It's always a bit random, that's the point. And that'll do. Like I say, if you want to have somewhere to put a barrel or some other feature later on, then leave a bit of space, but might just leave it like that. So we'll let that dry, and then it'll be undercoated, and then we can start doing some painting for it. Okay, with that various rust colours painted on, That's what we end up with, like that. So next I'm going to use some of this typhus corrosion, which is another brush colour paint, so don't use a good one. The stuff's got, if you haven't used it, the stuff's got a bit of texture to it, a bit of a grit through it, and it's useful for, or designed really for adding corrosion, as you'd expect, and these sorts of effects. And it's one of these technical paints, which are quite a nice range of paints that just do something a bit different from simply being a colour. And as before, I'm just trying to avoid leaving like brush strokes. You kind of want it to be stippled on at random as much as possible. And as it dries, you'll actually see the texture. You can feel it. You don't need to overdo this. It can be tempting to overdo it. And it'll act as a bit of a bit of texture to pick up some dry brushing in a second, or a minute or so, when we do the last bit of the rust. And I suppose you could be thinking about where moisture or water or liquids would collect and cause the most corrosion, but I'm just kind of going over it, whatever I want to just dab it on. Just try to keep it all random and mixed up. Okay. And you can already see it drying and just adding that grittiness to the surface. Okay. So we'll let that dry for a wee while, and then come back for the last step for the rust. Okay, so the typhus corrosion's dried now, and next we've got the riser rust, which is one of these dry paints by Citadel, and this will add that really nice bright orange colour to our rust effect. And you've got to remember that, as I've said, a lot of this is going to get covered up once it's painted with its top colour coat. So you don't want to spend too long or be too stuck on this, but just for the purposes of doing a video. So I like to get a few dabs on here and there for a start. Just move the paint around and then come back, kind of brush over it a bit. And you see there, you get that kind of semi-realistic rust effect. And then of course you can dry brush, and that typhus corrosion, that texture that you've got overall will start picking up some of the orange also. And as before, we're just trying to avoid making any repeat patterns anywhere like that. I think it's nice to leave a few kind of really bright orange spots here and there. Rather than trying to dry brush them all away, try and have a mixture. You can't really do this wrong, it's just about creating something that's really random and don't have to care too much about it. So some more on here underneath. You might notice that the orange does fade a bit as it dries. It doesn't stay quite as bright as it was when you put it on. So it's quite heavy there, but that's alright. If you kind of scrub it away and from different directions, it kind of just sorts itself out. So here. Okay, so I think that's about it. Like I said, a lot of this is going to get covered up and you'll never see it, but some of it will come through and you don't know exactly which bits, and so it's maybe worth just doing it like this for a start anyway, just an overall rusty finish like that. And I suppose you could actually just leave the model there if you wanted, but we'll move on to the next step. But before we do anything else, I'm going to seal that in once it's dry, just with you could use just a spray-on varnish purity seal, whatever it is you want to use, just to help protect the rust effects that we've done so far, so that we don't end up rubbing that off later on when we're doing some of the colour. So that's it for the moment.